start with this position because in our whole lessons we studied a little bit this
Mm-hmm.
opening, the King's Indian, and I
Mm-hmm.
think this is a very interesting position of understanding and of what you can play here. Um, okay, try to imagine here. So imagine you're playing the game now, and you're black. What's your idea, and which moves do you consider to play for black?
I want to move the knight and play f5.
Okay, exactly, because we say that when we have this structure, your
Mm-hmm.
idea would be to play 5. The point is where move the knight, because okay, potentially the knight can go in many different squares, so which square do you feel is more logical for you?
G4 to attack the bishop.
Uh, exactly. So in this case, it's okay knight g4 because you are attacking the bishop. That is a good thing
Mm-hmm.
because the bishop it's strong. It's
Mm-hmm.
is the good bishop for white. At the same time, you free the pawn f, and then you're ready to play 5.
Yes.
Yeah, and the solution in this case would be very very good. Do you
And
remember the move that you played in your game?
no.
In your game, you played knight h7.
Like that.
Uh, that doesn't make
Wonder.
sense for two reasons. Then one is that it's more is less active. So I mean, if you can bring the knight in a position which more active, clearly is
Mm-hmm.
better. And the second reason because it's bad is because then you remove the square for the king.
Uh-huh. Wonder
Because
why? What was the idea? I don't remember it.
I don't know, maybe your idea was to play knight g5. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in general, when you can, when it's possible, it's better to have knight g4 or knight h5 when it's
Mm-hmm.
possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when it's not possible, play knight d8. Because if you play knight d8, even queen d2, you can play king h7, and then you can play 5 anyway
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
without big.
Okay. Okay, I see. Yeah.
Okay, let's imagine you play knight g4, bishop d2.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe doesn't want to start the trade, and now you play 5.
Yes.
And we can imagine now white plays queen c2. Okay, let's think how to proceed after that. Understood
Mm-hmm.
it looking your game. Okay, if white plays castle, so imagine he plays castle,
Mm-hmm.
you are sure that the king is here,
Ah,
and you are sure that you can make a direct attack against the king.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you play knight 4, makes sense. For example, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then you play maybe g5, remove the knight back, and then you play g4, and then you can continue
Mm-hmm.
your attack. But if the enemy king is not castle and you play 4, maybe I play. Okay,
Ah.
not now because if I castle immediately there is the fork. But maybe first
Mm-hmm.
at h3, then you move the knight, and then I go in the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And when you push the pawn, so you open the h file for your enemy, and maybe your king will be in trouble.
Yeah.
And this was something that happened in your game.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah, now I remember, yeah. He
you pushed
castled to
the
another
pawn.
side and like I was what I do now?
Yeah, because you push the pawn anyway, but in this way you're
Mm-hmm.
pushing the pawns to open the enemy pieces,
Yeah.
and was a disaster at the end.
Yes, yes, yes.
So if white doesn't castle, it's better for you to be flexible. So to keep the pawn to f5, maybe to be ready to play 4 or maybe play other moves.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the question can be, what could be a move for black to improve the position a little bit without changing the pawn structure now?
Maybe mm-hmm. Mm, maybe knight no c5. Yeah, c5 is not very c5. Yeah, maybe knight f6 I would do.
Which knight?
Uh v1 on d7.
In this case, you have a problem, I think, if you play knight df6.
Then knight don't have any squares to move, right?
Then you go back with the knight. So once white
Mm-hmm.
played h3, you lost the knight.
Yeah, true. Then I don't know, maybe c5 or b6, just to move somewhere.
No, b6. Okay, usually when you play this opening, b6 is bad because on b6 you are attacking points that are very easy for him to defend and are very well protected. So
Ah,
usually, if it's possible, it's much better to bring the knight to c5.
c5,
The,
okay.
the reason is because now you're making pressure on e4, and maybe this pressure on e4 can be interesting for you.
Mm-hmm.
I should example. Imagine that you make a mistake playing before. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
take, takes, and now black to play. What do you do?
Mm. Pa, 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 pa. Mm. My bishop f5.
Yes, and the queen is lost exactly.
Ah, it's lost? Ah, really? Ah, yes, it's
it's,
lost.
it's very important to say it. Yes, it's very important to say that the queen
Ah,
is lost after
okay,
that.
okay. Yes. Ah, yeah, I see now.
So that's also why it's more important to be more flexible in this case, because potentially also the queen on e, e4 maybe came in this particular case a target. So
Mm-hmm.
if he plays castle, f4 is more logical because you can make a direct attack against the king.
Mm-hmm.
So this was one topic very important from this game. Uh, if we review a little bit it, yeah, okay. So the
Mm-hmm.
first mistake was knight h7.
Mm-hmm.
You play f4, trying to block the bishop, makes sense. But now
Yeah.
the rook is there, so once you open, it's bad because your king is in trouble and they could always castle queenside.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was a very important mistake in the understanding of the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, I think it's clear right now. I want to show
Mm-hmm.
another example. That is this. Okay, so the first example. Let's write the topic. So the topic is if you can play active with a knight to free the pawn f,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other topic is that that when f4 is strong when the enemy king is castled.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go down number 2. That is this. Black to play. This was another game that you played with black. Maybe take your time now to understand what to do in this particular position.
No, I have two things, like to do the same, to move a knight, and go with f pawn forward. Or second thing is to move with b knight first, and then somehow move it to this king side. b6, a7, f5.
Sorry, do you mean d7?
No, I mean with b knight.
Okay, you mean d7 this knight.
No, first maybe here
Okay, c6, okay.
to threaten this, and then
And
go
this.
to e, yeah, and then here.
Yeah,
With some.
but why you should
Or
go? Why should you go here?
I don't know. 2 knights is better than one. If he if he castles his king side, then I have two knights
Yeah,
in
but
attack.
you are also blocking your potential pawn. That
Then pawn is blocked. Yeah. Pawn is blocked. Yeah.
and this maneuver requires time because you have to play the knight 2 times to go to
Free.
f5, and then it's not clear
Mm-hmm.
if it's the right moment to do that.
Mm-hmm. Then yeah, maybe to move this knight somewhere. Maybe like this or this.
And
Good.
just 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
When we started this plan, I mean this plan to play
Mm-hmm.
knight g4 and then f5. This plan is connected at the y structure e4, c4,
So it's
d5.
closed. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we must understand that the logic of the attack is that the structure is closed,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why in this particular case this idea makes sense and is okay, is good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for sure we can apply the di5 when the enemy center is locked.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, the point to understand is that center is not locked. So this plan to play 5f4, I don't
It's
think
not
is a
good,
good
right?
idea. Exactly, yes.
But no, yeah. Maybe he can move with c pawn and then attack my king.
Do you mean this the pawn?
Yeah, if he moves with c pawn forward a little bit, he can attack with.
Oh yes, potentially could have potential counter play
So
or
it's not locked, right?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's important to remember this, that the idea that we studied, it's good when the center is locked, and
Mm-hmm.
when it's not locked, maybe we have to play in a different way.
But I also thought that maybe I should take this pawn here
Okay,
and somehow move. So somehow move this like that,
okay.
or
Yeah, it's okay, it's okay. I mean that.
or for this maybe same move would be good. I don't know. Or first maybe with knight, something like that.
Okay, yes,
Or,
can be an idea exactly. Just one thing.
mm-hmm.
If you take and he takes with a pawn and maybe play check. Now,
There is nothing, right? Still.
no. I mean, you could have something, but the key move, in my opinion, is now. So now it's like to play. Try to imagine which move for black is very, very important in this position. It's not a winning move, but it's a move that is important for the strategy.
Maybe bishop g4.
Okay, maybe you would play f3.
Uh, yeah. Just have to retreat, right? But if I take... What about knight h5?
What's the logic to play knight h5?
With idea to go on f4.
Okay, but what would be the white move? I mean, the next move for white, what would be?
Castle?
Exactly.
Castle and that's it, right? It's all ended.
Because remember that when we play knight g4 or knight h5, are moves that in this particular position are possible because maybe if you play knight h4 you can go f4 because the pawn is supporting your knight. But if you play the same thing in this position after castle, the knight on h5 is completely useless and it's never possible to go to f4.
He can just take and that's it. Okay, yes, I see, yes. Okay, so...
Okay, if you remember when we did the first lessons, we talked about weaknesses. Weaknesses on squares and weaknesses about the pawns. What do you remember about it? So what do you remember about the weaknesses? Which rules we said about it?
Weakness is what cannot be defended by the pawn.
Exactly. Not now, not in the future. Exactly. So if you see the white position, for example, do you see maybe squares or pawns that are weak in the white position here?
No, this knight on e2 is weak.
No,
Right?
but
Because it
pawn
can be
king.
defended.
Yeah, okay,
Ah,
but after castle, the knight will go away, and the difference between the pawns and the other pieces, the pawns are a static element, so the pawn cannot too much. The knight can be removed, and then the problem can be solved.
I think all pawns on king side are not weak, right? Because we all can go forward and can be defended.
Yes.
But pawns on the queen side, let's see. On queen side we have only one weak pawn. It's on a2. Because all ours can be defended.
Okay, for example, d4, how can be defended d4?
Go forward.
Okay. But if you cannot go forward, it's weak.
But it can.
Yes, sure. yeah, it's clear, yes. But if he cannot go forward, then it's weak, exactly. It's like if there is a possibility to block the pawn, then that possibility you must take in consideration.
Okay. So next move you say is d5?
Exactly, yes. It's a completely different game here. So the opening is the same, but the game is completely different. So now you play d5 to play more from the enemy weaknesses.
And then this is weak.
And maybe in the future you can try to attack this pawn. Maybe you can try to free the bishop, and you improve the pieces, and at some time you make pressure against that pawn.
Okay, I see. Block it first, right? Okay, yeah. Yeah, remember we talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about the weaknesses, and in some position like this can be very important to consider this element. Okay, it's clear that if he takes, it's bad for him, because if he takes, you can take back with the queen or with the knight, and then d4 is under pressure, b4 is under pressure, so it's clear that
yes.
if he takes d5 would be terrible, the position for white. So the difficult thing when you study the openings or when you play the chess games is that every chess game, every opening is related with the pawn structure. So even if the name is the same, so if you have to call this opening is King's Indian, if you call this opening is King's Indian, even if the name is the same, the game is completely different. It's like that you're playing different strategy, different ideas, maybe different development, and so on. The only thing that we can compare is the fact that you have this bishop here, but maybe here it's blocked. In the other game, after maybe we trade the pawns, it's more open, so there is more activity. So you don't play in the same way because the opening is the same, but you play in the same way if the pawn structure is the same.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Especially the central pawn structure. So maybe if the pawn is on a3 or on a4, I don't know, maybe it's not really, really important. But if the white pawns are e3, d4, or e5, d6, or e4, d5, it can be completely different.
Okay.
So it's very important for you to understand that when you play, every strategy we study is always related with the central structure that you reach. Okay, when you reach a position like this, it's fixed. So you know that cannot change. So you're sure now that the idea 5 f4 or the idea to play 5 for sure will be an idea that can make sense in this particular position. Is it make sense?
Yes, yes, yes.
In this position, considering that you don't know if this happened, okay, maybe imagine you play knight c6. But okay, there is the pawn here. Okay, let's say you play this, and you go back, and he plays this, and I don't know, you play a move, just to say a move, you play this, and you play it. But now, again, with the structure, so maybe the idea 5 can be okay.
It's fixed again. Yeah, yeah.
But it's very important to make in relationship this element with the strategy that then you follow. If the structure is different, you can have other plans. Like in this example, it's also quite interesting to take as we said, play rook e8 and maybe then play d5 to maybe fix the pawn on the w square, and then in the long term try to attack it. Or sometimes we can also have dynamical idea like this, for example. Exploiting the fact that the bishop on d3 is not defended.
Ah.
So if he takes, he loses because then we take back and the bishop and the other bishop are on that side.
Okay.
So maybe he has to go back. Yes, he should go back. And maybe we can have ideas to attack. I don't know, knight. Maybe knight g4. And if we see we can make pressure the king on the center, we can try to do something like that. Clearly now the game is completely different. It's always a king's Indian, but the game is different because the center is open, the enemy king is on the center, and maybe the idea would be to attack the white king on the center here.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, that's it about the king's Indian. Now I show you two positions that are not about the king's Indian, but are useful also for the king's Indian. And it's something very important for the understanding.
Okay.
The first position that I want to show you is this one that you play with black. This is not a king's Indian because it was a e4 e5 game, so it was a king's game, and after many moves you reached this position. Okay, imagine now you select to play what you want to play here, what can be a move for you.
I think I remember this also a little bit. Yeah. I was thinking here how to bring this queen on a king side to attack. But yeah, and if I remember correctly, I was choosing maybe d7 is good to sacrifice the bishop. No.
Okay.
But
in your game. Okay, makes sense because you try to add more pressure. So at the end, it's logical, we can say so. But it's not the best idea in this particular position. So we have something better that we can do. I think there is a problem in the in the study that we did in the maybe the first or the second lesson, because I think there is something that we studied that is not so clear. I show an example to just understand what I mean. Something like this. I was black. And now you see after d5 we reached the structure that we want. And it's almost the same idea to play then f4 and continuing the attack in this way. Okay, pay attention, in all the positions that we studied about the King's Indian, you have always the pawn to f4 and white has the pawn to f3. So very often you learn that very often you're ready to play the pawn on g4 to break the enemy structure. I think it's something that you try to do when you play your games, right? So
Yes.
you try to break here.
Yes.
But remember that here we have f4 and he has f3, right?
Yes.
A nice difference is that here you have f4,
Ah.
but it doesn't have f3.
Ah, yes, yes. Now I remember. Yes. And then he moved his pawn on f3, and then it was like not very good for me. I should do it. I should do it myself. Yes.
Exactly. So the point is that you can break the
Yes,
structure.
I should do it.
going
I should
f3.
do it myself. Yes, because otherwise it's not good.
Exactly.
Yes, yes, yes. I remember. I learned it. Yes, I was thinking about it also.
And in fact, for white is when the pawn is here and you are fighting f3, he has to play f3. He has to play f3 to block f3.
Yes, and he cannot take with queen. He should take with
The pawn, and then you can
Yes,
be here.
and then I can move my queen somewhere
you can
closer.
join with the queen, and the attack will be strong. Exactly.
Yes, 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 yes.
So this was a game in which there was this idea of f3. So idea f3 to break the enemy castle. So it's very interesting because it's not the King's Indian, but the structure is almost the same. So I mean, it's not the same, but it's always a close center in which potentially.
But you know that I noticed that I want same structure now. So somehow, if even opening is not that, I'm trying to do it. Like I'm trying to close the center and to try to reach same.
Exactly, yes. Because if the center is lost, this kind of strategy can be more logical. There is another game that you played. That was this one. I think this was maybe yesterday, so this was a new game that you played with black. Oh, now the center is not closed because the pawns are not blocked. But okay, try to imagine if it's black to play, which move do you consider for black in this particular position?
Maybe same, f3.
Exactly, yes.
Forward, yeah.
But in the game you play that, I think, and it's a mistake. You should play always f3 because you have always the possibility to break the castle.
Especially here it's he should take.
Yeah, and then the rook is also quite strong. The bishop can join, maybe the queen can join, and you have a lot of pressure against the enemy king. Yeah, I took the 2 position because it happened 2 times in the last 2 weeks, right? So was something important. So it's like that you didn't consider that you can push the pawn to f3 if. In this game, push the pawn to f4 was a mistake. Actually, the game I think was this. Oh no, it's not this. This game is different. Oh no, it's this, I think. Yeah. No, this was the other one. Just one second. Exactly the game that you played. It was e4, e5, knight f6, knight f3, knight c6. You played d4. You took.
Ah, this is from today, I think.
Oh yes.
Okay.
d6. You took with the pawn, and you played bishop e7 castle, and you played castle, and you played a3. Oh, and now you play 97. Do you remember why you played 97?
I wanted to move my knight on e5 to attack his bishop.
Okay, to remove the enemy bishop, okay, it makes sense.
Yes.
And then you play the 5. That makes sense to... this move makes sense more not to play 4, but it's more to make pressure at the enemy center. Now you play f4. Okay, my question is, why f4 is a mistake here?
Why it's mistake? It's good. it's no, yeah, here, but no. I don't know. I would still do it now.
Okay. Okay, if you play f4 and then you play f3, it's good.
Ah, yes. This is like was the plan.
Exactly.
But I did something different, right?
No,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I put bishop here. Yeah, it's not very good.
no, but I mean also different thing. I mean, if you play 4 and then you can play 3, it's good for you. This
Ah, but he can now play f3.
exactly. So the point is that now he
He
plays f3.
he cannot take.
Now the pawn is potentially pawn under
weak.
pressure, and you cannot play g5, g4 because now the center is open. So you cannot play g5, h5, g4. You don't have enough strength to do that. So at the end, you reach no result because the pawn on f4 doesn't help you to attack, and there's more a weakness that's something really useful for you.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
why,
makes sense.
That's why f4 is a mistake here. I change a little bit from the previous game. If it's black to play now, f4 is good.
Yeah, because center is closed, right?
Exactly.
So I can move G and H forward also. Okay.
I made only a small change if we consider that because the previous position was this one, right? So basically, what I did, I put the pawn here, this pawn here, and the knight here, and then f4 is good. So that's important to remember. That can be good with the King's Indian, but can be good, okay, clearly with a lot of other openings. Idea f4, center closed. Okay.
If not, then
Yeah,
and
or
if
is
center is
good.
closed.
Exactly, yes, or the center is closed. Yeah, because if the center is open and you're sure after f4 you play f3, it's good because then you can break the structure. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you play f4 with time because you're attacking something on h3, has to move something on h3, and then you have enough time to play f3. In that case, maybe it makes sense. Or if you reach the result to break, or if the center is closed, exactly.
Okay.
Let's continue with another game. This was another game that you played with black. And it's very interesting here to understand what to do. What's your opinion about the position?
But here I want to do the same. I want to move my bishop on e7 and then move f pawn forward and forward.
Okay. Okay, the game is completely different, but try to imagine if you're black here, what do you do? What can be your idea?
Maybe pin with knight. I don't know.
Okay, but
Why, but
then the knight will be unpinned. Then the question is, what's useful with the pin? Because if you pin the knight, then maybe the rook will go away, and it's not so clear what's the result. I have one question that is very interesting. What's the common thing between this position and your game?
the knights together, or we like standing together, or no,
I don't know.
or and with pawn on b2 also. I was thinking about it.
Okay, in both games there is a pawn on b2, but I don't know. That's true. I don't know. What do you think is the key element that should connect the two games, the two positions?
Also, there is two bishop and two knights.
Yeah, the point, the common thing between the two games is that always black has two bishops and white has two knights. The other things are different, exactly. So when you have two bishops against two knights, what should you try to do? What should be your strategy?
Somehow I'm afraid the knights. I want to like always block them. I want to take all squares from them, and so they cannot reach me. So they cannot come closer to me.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't know any strategies.
Okay. I show first your game. In your game, for example, in this game you played c5. This was the move that you played. I don't know if you remember why. Maybe you were scared about d4. I don't know.
No, no, it doesn't seem so good idea now. Maybe I want to bring this queen to the game to move it on a queen side and to attack some b pawn or something.
But why c5 is a bad idea?
I don't know. It's somehow with pawn on d6 become weak and not defendable. And
But it's difficult to attack. Because the line is closed.
Then I don't know.
Okay. Let's do another question. I want to ask you something about that. I'll give you 4 options. And then you have to choose one, the one that you think is better.
Okay.
In this position, the rook is under attack.
Yes.
And so I'll give you the option to go rook f8 or rook d8. or cover with the bishop or cover with the knight. Okay, the question is which is the best for you. So which the option that you think?
Cover with a bishop.
Okay. Let's do let's work on another topic that we studied in the past. That is the weak squares. We said that a weak square is a square that cannot be defended by pawns.
Yes.
And a square that cannot be defended by pawns, that is covered by the enemy pawns, is an outpost for the enemy pieces. So here something to understand is the square f5 is a weak square, but also is an outpost for the enemy pieces and the enemy knight. Okay, for now, go to f5 is not so convenient because the bishop is covering f5.
Yeah, but if bishop will be removed,
then knight f5 will be possible and can be a problem for black. That's why bishop d7 is bad, because the bishop has a job that is to cover f5.
Okay.
So if not bishop d7, which other option can we choose?
Maybe then just move the rook on d8 or f8. Doesn't matter, I think.
Exactly, yes. One of them is the same, exactly. So you can see as this kind of topic like the weak squares, the outpost, are very important for your strategy when you play your games. So if you go back now to the game, and we have to say why c5 it's a mistake.
Because of outpost on d5.
Yeah, give him a good square for the knight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can remove the knight if you want, but you must give him the light bishop, that is your best bishop.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, when you have the bishop pair, it's better for you to keep the bishops if you can. So you're not playing to trade the bishops.
Okay.
So that's why c5 is a mistake.
Okay. Yes, makes sense.
We can try to imagine what can play instead, maybe. Can we play instead? So
maybe c6 then.
Okay, c6 to do what?
To block this square on on d5.
Yes, exactly. So a good move can be c6 is to block the knight, is potentially to open the position. Because remember that when you have the bishop pair, your goal will be to open the position, and to open the position, the best thing is to open the center. If you can trade some pawns on the center, you open the diagonals for the bishops, then your bishops will play very, very well.
Okay. Yeah. And queen can go on a queen side also, right?
When maybe is
if needed.
Exactly. Then you can also consider to move the queen to b6 or to a5 to do something on this area. For now, probably the main idea is to fight for the center, improving the bishops. Does it make sense?
Yes, but how can I fight for it if he has?
Imagine maybe we play on rook e1. Just to say an example. And now I think I can maybe I can play rook e8 to support my push e5, because once I will push d5, then the e5 pawn will be maybe under pressure.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe white would play rook c1. Trying to activate the pieces. And at one point I think I'm able to play d5.
Okay.
You mean if he wait, right? So if he doesn't move anything, I mean.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, but let's say an example for white. So which move can you play? Maybe.
Take. Let's take with C D.
Okay, take with the pawn.
Yes. E D.
I take with the bishop.
Ah.
Maybe he takes the bishop, right?
Yes. Yes.
So now I lost my bishop pair because I traded one bishop for one knight. But I reach another good position because the difference is that white has
Isolated pawn.
an isolated pawn on d3, white has less space, and for me it's quite easy to attack this pawn directly also with the rook.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Okay.
why black is better in this
Okay.
position.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. Makes sense. Okay.
But if he doesn't take, then maybe I can also create other threats. I was thinking that if white plays b3, maybe I can at one point open the position, and maybe I can go queen a5, attacking a2, and at the hand I open a file for my rook, and maybe my bishop can be replaced here, attacking the dark squares, and I can find new life for my bishop in the next future.
Okay.
This can be, for example, another idea. So yes, once I push d5, the point is that if we trade the E and C for C and D, at the end it's better for black because we keep in the game the weakness on d3.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense now.
Let's say now the other position was this, in which is black to play. The other example that I showed before. So okay, let's think now. It's black to play. Which idea can you have?
Rook E8 to move pawn E forward.
Okay, exactly. So a good idea for black could be to push one day the pawn e5. But pay attention about one element that I also use in the other position. If you see also in the other position, I try to use my pawns to support the push. And maybe here the question can be the same. So if I need or if it's useful, use the pawn to push. The reason is because, as I said, I don't want to trade my bishops for the knight. So if you play rook e8 and then I push e5, you're forced to trade one bishop for the knight. That
Okay.
I want to avoid if I can.
Okay.
But if I reach this position, I opening a little bit the game, keeping my bishops in the game. So if I can, I like to keep my bishops clearly in the game, like in this example.
Yes,
So-
it's minor difference, but yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and
Very subtle.
and one difference is that if you go rook e8 and d5, in this case you don't have much because white doesn't have weaknesses. Maybe it's your pawn d5 that's weak. In the other game, then we trade the one bishop. That makes sense because the weakness is in the white camp. So
Okay.
this is the big
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
difference between the two. So mainly, clearly, looking at the games that you played, in some games, okay, you made the tactical mistake that it's also a point of attention depending when you play the conditions that you play the particular game. But going over the tactical mistakes that we can do, it's very important this understanding of the strategy that is very very important connected with the structure, with the pawn structure, and especially the center structure.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that f5, especially f4, it's usually available, it's usually good when the center is locked.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one topic. If the center is not locked and maybe the enemy king is on the center, I can change my strategy. Maybe I take on the center and then attack the enemy king directly, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Another topic very important is the topic of the weaknesses and the outpost.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know that the 4 pawn is a weakness, I know a good idea can be to block it. So I can consider d5. Blocking the pawn now, the pawn can be a nice target. Okay, this topic is very common, so we can see in a lot of different examples. About attacking idea, the f3. So very often you had the pawn to f4 without push f3. So if the pawn is on f4, clearly push is usually good because you break the enemy castle. And then okay, the other idea was about the bishop pair. So the fact that having the bishop pair, I don't want to block the position, I want to open. If you play c5, you block the position, and you give him a strong score for the knight. That's why it's particularly bad.
Good about bishops because it's not just distinguishable for me. Which bishop is good, which is not. Like I understand that it's probably relative, depending on situation, but still, like, what is a
it's a very good question, exactly, and yes, it's something. Okay, we have to distinguish two things. Usually, when you hear people talk about chess, you can hear bad bishop and good bishop. When they talk about good and bad bishop, it depends by the pawn structure. So it's very easy. So now black has all the central pawn in dark squares. So it means that the dark bishop is bad because there is less squares available for this bishop.
Okay.
The light bishop will be the good bishop. But it's always relative because maybe the bishop that is bad is very important for a particular thing, and maybe the bad bishop is more important than the good bishop. But in general, the good bishop is the bishop opposite of your pawn structure on the center.
Okay.
So if your pawns, your central pawns are in light squares, your dark bishop will be the good bishop.
Okay, clear, yes.
Considering always that is a general idea, so potentially we can have rare positions which make the bad bishop is very important because you need that bishop to do something concrete that can change the game. Okay, so hope is clear.
Okay, yes, it's clear. Thank you.
And it's clear that if the center is not locked, can change. Because if your pawn is in dark square and then change it and go in the light square, can change this. So it's clear this idea is when the structure is locked or when it's almost locked that you can understand which bishop is...
But also, like, if I want to make somebody's bishop, my opponent bishop worse, I should put my pawns on like this bishop color or opposite.
Okay, it depends by the situation in this case. Because, for example, if we play a game in which there is d4, d5, e3, and maybe you are black, for him this would be the bad bishop, right? Because
yes, because it's locked. Yes.
So in this case, if you want to make passive this bishop, the only thing that you can do is to take a lot of space, but it depends if it's possible. So it's clear that if you put all the pawns in light squares in a way that the enemy bishop cannot move, in this case you're blocking it. But it's not so easy to reach in a real game because there is maybe the enemy counter attack with the enemy pawns. Okay, so I think